once again back to Exploring Arda, a Tolkien-centered podcast where I am your host Jackson, and I go through a bunch of Tolkien's works other than Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And yeah, lately I've been pretty much going on a binge of Adventures of Tom Bombadil. And yeah, it's been very fun reading through all of it. Although I do stutter quite a bit, it's still fun to kind of read through some of the poems that I have read before and some of the ones that I haven't read before. So it has been quite an experience. So this one actually, it might be a little shorter than the usual ones, because I think in these next couple segments here, I like to think, like I would say before I start reading everything, that these are pretty much just kind of like songs that either you hear it around like the campfire, or you're with your Hobbit buddies in your favorite tavern, maybe like the Prancing Pony or the Green Dragon, like singing a song and having a brew and what's it called, a puff of air or something like that. Whatever Merry and Pippin call it. Sniff of air, there you go. Sniff of air and beer in the throat, as they say in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I kind of like imagine like these next couple segments as songs, so it's not going to be as serious or in depth of it, because the titles here are called The Man in the Moon Stayed Up Too Late, and then the second is called The Man in the Moon Came Down Too Soon. So I kind of imagine those are kind of like matching together, and you can kind of like have one person singing the first song and then the other one has the second, or something fun like that. And obviously I'm not going to be singing. I'm just going to be reciting the words, because I cannot sing. I'm actually tone deaf, which is kind of a bummer. But I think we should just go right into the lyrics of the chapters here. So let's get to it. The Man in the Moon stayed up too late. There is an inn, a merry old inn, beneath an old grey hill, and there they brew a beer so brown that the Man in the Moon himself came down one night to drink his fill. The Ulster has a tipsy cat that plays a five-stringed fiddle, and up and down he runs his bow, now squeaking high, now purring low, now sawing in the middle. The landlord keeps a little dog that is mighty fond of jokes. When there's good cheer among the guests, he cocks an ear at all the jests, and laughs until he chokes. They also keep a horned cow, as proud as any queen, but music turns her head like ale, and makes her wave her tufted tail, and dance upon the green. And oh, the row of silver dishes, and the store of silver spoons! For Sunday there's a special pair, and these they polish up with care on Saturday afternoons. The Man in the Moon was drinking deep, and the cat began to wail. A dish and a spoon on the table danced. The cow in the garden madly pranced, and the little dog chased his tail. The Man in the Moon took another mug, and then rolled beneath his chair, and there he dozed and dreamed of ale, till in the sky the stars were pale, and dawn was in the air. The Ulster said to his tipsy cat, "The white horses of the moon, they neigh and champ their silver bits, but their master's been and drowned his wits, and the sun'll be rising soon." So the cat on his fiddle played hey diddle diddle, a jig that would wake the dead. He squeaked and sawed and quickened the tune, while the landlord shook the Man in the Moon. "It's after 3, he said. They rolled the man slowly up the hill, and bundled him into the moon, while his horses galloped up in rear, and the cow came capering like a deer, and a dish ran up with a spoon. Now quicker the fiddle went diddle-dum diddle, the dog began to roar. The cow and the horses stood on their heads, the guests all bounded from their beds, and danced upon the floor. With a ping and a pong the fiddle strings broke, the cow jumped over the moon, and the little dog laughed to see such fun, and the Saturday dish went off on a run with the silver Sunday spoon. The round moon rolled behind the hill as the sun raised up her head. She hardly believed her fiery eyes, for though it was day, to her surprise, they all went back to bed. So that's the first segment here, which is the man. It's a kind of a funny story, actually. The Man in the Moon stayed up too late. And I'm actually going to go right into The Man in the Moon Came Down Too Soon. So let's go right into that. The man in the moon had silver shoon, and his beard was of silver thread, with opals crowned and pearls all bound about his girdle stead. In his mantle grey he walked one day across a shining floor, and with crystal key and secrecy he opened an ivory door. On a filigree stair of glimmering hair then lightly down he went, and merry was he at last to be free, on a mad adventure bent. In diamonds white he had lost delight, he was tired of his minaret, of tall moonstone that towered alone on a lunar mountain set. He would dare any peril for ruby and beryl, to broider his pale attire, for new diadems of lustrous gems, emerald and sapphire. He was lonely too, with nothing to do, but stare at the world of gold, and hark to the hum that would distantly come, as gaily round it rolled. At plenilune in his ardent moon, in his heart he longed for fire, not the limpid lights of wan selenites, for red was his desire, for crimson and rose and ember glows, for flame with burning tongue, for the scarlet skies in a swift sunrise, when a stormy day is young. He'd have seas of blues, and the living hues of forest green and fen, and he yearned for the mirth of the populous earth, and the sanguine blood of men. He coveted song and laughter long, and viands hot and wine, early pearly cakes of light snowflakes, and drinking thin moonshine. He twinkled his feet as he though thought of the meat of pepper and punch galore, and he tripped unaware on his slanting stair, and like a meteor, a stair in flight, ere Yule one night, flickering down, he fell from his laddery path to a foaming bath in the windy bay of Bel. He began to think, lest he melt and sink, what in the moon to do, when a fisherman's boat found him far afloat, to the amazement of the crew, caught in their net all shimmering wet, in a phosphorescent sheen of bluey whites and opal lights and delicate liquid green. Against his wish, with the morning fish, they packed him back to land. You had best get a bed in an inn, they said. The town is near at hand. Only the knell of one slow bell high in the seaward tower announced the news of his moonsick cruise at that unseemly hour. Not a hearth was laid, not a breakfast made, and dawn was cold and damp. There were ashes for fire, and for grass the mire, for the sun a smoking lamp, in a dim back street. Not a man did he meet, no voice was raised in song. There were snores instead, for all folk were abed, and still would slumber long. He knocked as he passed on doors locked fast, and called and cried in vain, till he came to an inn that had light within, and he tapped at a window pane. A drowsy cook gave a surly look, and "What do you want?" said he. "I want fire and gold, and songs of old, and red wine flowing free." "But you won't get them here," said the cook with a leer, "but you may come inside. Silver I lack, and silk to my back, maybe I'll let you bide." A silver gift the latch to lift, a pearl to pass the door. For a seat by the cook in the ingle nook, it cost him 20 more. For hunger or drouth not passed his mouth till he gave both crown and cloak. And all that he got in an earthen pot, broken and black with smoke, was porridge cold and 2 days old, to eat with a wooden spoon. For puddings of Yule with plums, poor fool, he arrived so much too soon, an unwary guest on a lunatic quest from the mountains of the moon. And yeah, there you go. There is the tales of the man in the moon, basically. I think for this second one, well, actually, you know what? Let's go back to the first one, because I didn't really talk about the first one, which was very fun. I definitely enjoyed it. This one, definitely, the first part, Man in the Moon Stayed Up Too Late, is basically the way that I kind of picture it is the Man in the Moon came down, decided to have a good time, and he got a little bit too drunk with the other people. And then, they all, have a nice good time, and then he started drinking with all the other people, and obviously he had a little bit too much, and he could not get back to where he belonged. And again, even though you guys can't really see it, you guys can kind of see the image of the moon, the man in the moon being kind of pushed up that hill there, and the cat playing the fiddle. So it's that inclusion of that rhyme is, the cat and the fiddle, and the cow jumped over the moon, things like that. So it's definitely, I would say it's kind of a more mature version, I guess, of The Man in the Moon, because I don't remember if I've heard the original poem of The Man in the Moon. I probably have, but I don't know. I definitely enjoy this version because it's just kind of silly in its own way. Yeah, it's after 3 in the morning. That's very late. And I think the second one, when The Man in the Moon came down too soon, is that he was just too eager to see what the earthen ways looked like, I would suppose. That's kind of like what I thought it might have been like. There's this other drawing here that has this long stringy beard of silver thread, which is kind of cool. I like that. And of course he's got like glasses because I guess he's an old guy. So yeah, he basically like crash lands onto the earth, and then the fishermen are just like, wow, that's kind of weird. But he still asks them where to go. They basically point him into town, tries to find all the places, and they all pretty much are still sleeping. And he finally finds an inn, and he's just like, oh, I want all these grand things. And the innkeeper's like, all I got is this 2-day-old porridge. So here you go. I think it was porridge, but it was it was porridge, cold and 2 days old. Yep. So basically, Man in the Moon comes down to see the dazzling glamours of what Earth is like, and all he gets is cold soup, basically. Well, maybe not even soup, it's just porridge. So a cold porridge, 2-day-old porridge. So yeah, basically crash lands into this small town. So kind of funny to really think about it, but also, yeah, at the same time, like what I said, is that I think it was more of just for songs. It seems very like each, if you guys decide to get the book or just read through Adventures of Tom Bombadil, or just read through Tolkien's version of Man in the Moon, you can definitely tell that this is definitely like a rowdy drinking song, especially like the first one. And I think I'm guessing here, if I remember correctly, that the Hobbit movies briefly included that with the dwarves, which this is definitely a dwarven or hobbity song, I would definitely say. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on these Man in the Moon poems. It's been a long time since I've read these. I do remember reading them like forever ago, so some of it I remember, some of it I do not. But let me know your guys' thoughts on this one. Definitely different. This one didn't, just like last time, it did not include Tom, but also at the same time, I can definitely see Tom humming these tunes, especially these two songs. So, yeah, I think other than that, just be sure to check out the rest of my channel for some further support. I would greatly appreciate it. I got a lot of projects on my channel, so just kind of, scroll through there and just see what I'm all about. I would definitely appreciate that. Some extra views, just to see if you guys are interested in what I'm doing. So, but I think other than that and the rambling out of the way, just stay tuned for another episode, and may the light of Elbereth be with you all. Farewell.